My name is Gordon Henwood. I want to thank Ben and the team for inviting myself and a few others Veemers that's on this call to discuss what's new with Veeam. For those who are not familiar with Veeam itself, it's a little bit of an agenda. I'm going to introduce myself. Well, I'm Gordon Henwood. I've been in the business for since the mid '90s. I've been with Veeam for the last 3 years. I reside in the city metro area. So I'm here. I can be close. I can discuss with anyone or yourself further in detail about Veeam. So the agenda will be as follows. We'll talk about Veeam, give you a little bit of a history refresher of what we do at Veeam. For those who are not familiar with Veeam, that will be very helpful. For those who are really familiar with Veeam, I'm also going to discuss what's new with Veeam, with Veeam 10 itself. I'm going to do some highlights, and then I will go into a little deeper dive in a couple of features that we do have available. And then the last thing, to Ben's point, we do have a survey and a raffle at the end. We have a QR code that we're able to scan, and you'll be able to take a short survey, and you'll enter to win a prize from us itself. So at Veeam, we like to deliver our solutions to be simple, flexible, and reliable. Simple, we would give you the visibility across your workloads. So no matter where it lives, we're able to back that up and give you visibility into those backups itself. Flexible, as you see there, we're software defined. We're hardware agnostic itself. So meaning whatever infrastructure you have to provide for the Veeam infrastructure, we're able to sit on top of that and provide our availability. Reliable. I know he says it just works. For those who are familiar with Veeam, it's very simple to install, get your workloads backed up, but we verify our data itself. So once we back up your environment or replicate your environment, we're able to verify our backup files as well as our metadata to give you the assurity that we can recover your VM when it's time to go to the backup. Our data management platform is a complete solution that allows you as a customer, no matter where your workload resides, whether it's a cloud, virtual, or physical, we're able to protect that environment and give you the ability to move that environment either from on-prem into the cloud or vice versa itself. And if, let's go back a little bit one. And if you are taking advantage of our primary storage, if one of your primary storage vendors is taking advantage of our universal storage APIs, that gives you the benefit of reducing the VMware stun when we do our snapshot itself. Our platform solution is designed to make it simple for you to protect your entire environment. Starting with our backup and recovery, which is the core of our, backup replication, which is the core of our platform. You can back up, like I said before, anything that we're able to protect. Whether it lives in cloud or even if it's in Office 365, virtual or physical, we're able to protect that data. The mobility comes in with our backup file. Our backup file makes it flexible for us to either store for archival purposes into object storage, which my elite alliance partner I mentioned from Quantum, we're able to write into object storage using this format. We're able to protect your native workloads in cloud and also bring that back into an on-prem environment. Or we could go from site A to site B. We give you a lot of flexibility on how to move and protect your data. Monitoring analytics is provided by our Veeam One tool, and that allows us to view your hypervisor down to the stores and be proactive. So it's real-time monitoring We're able to do some analytics on oversized, over-provisioned VMs, VM change rates. We can provide that kind of insight into your VMware infrastructure. The orchestration and automation. We're able to take your application, move it from site A to site B through our platform. We're able to provide you a way to test this environment prior to failing over into your secondary site and bring that data back if needed to. Automation is simple. We do have PowerShell commandlets, so everything you do within our GUI, you are able to do through command line and through PowerShell. So that makes automation a lot easier using our tool itself. Your compliance goes along with us monitoring your infrastructure. We're able to write the reports. We can make sure that you are compliant. We will test your data within our short backup capabilities. Our short backup capabilities giving you the assurance that if you are faced with an audible item, that we are meeting that with your backup infrastructure. So some of the highlights of Veeam 10 is located here, but with Veeam 10, we had offered with this new release over 150 new enhancements to our code. And what you see highlighted here, the first three, is the first one is our NAS backup. That's independent of the NDP protocol. We can protect your file share data and then recover that data holistically back to the original location or to an alternate location, or give you the ability to just even just get one particular file. Our instant recovery has been enhanced with version 10. Not only are we able to recover your data to on-prem infrastructure or to alternate on-prem infrastructure, we're able to recover your data into object storage. Into cloud environments. And with Veeam 10, we added a little more power to the way we recover. So anything that we can protect, we can recover that back into a vSphere kernel. And the third thing here that's highlighted is about ransomware. So with the ability to see into your environment, the ability to test your environment, we're able to scan your environment to make sure there isn't any malware intrusions that got into your backup infrastructure. Now, with the best practices of the 321, as Quantum has mentioned, we're able to keep an offline copy of that data sitting in other object storage, tape, or an alternate location itself. We also enhance our backup capabilities for the SAP and Oracle environments. So SAP Back-Ink, we're able to now, through our agent technology, use the Back-Ink to move the data within that infrastructure to a Veeam repository. And that's the same with the Oracle backups. So we can use RMAN to facilitate the movement, to facilitate the backup, and then we can move that backup into a Veeam repository. More Linux love. So I'm a fan of Linux, personally. We started off our code on a Windows-based infrastructure, but now we're able to offer our customers to use a Linux repository or a Linux proxy to move the data itself. So that gives you flexibility of how to use your data. It gives you separation, following best practices, to having different authentication models to prevent some ransomware itself. But also additional benefit to our Veeam Linux agent is the ability to protect our MySQL and PostgreSQL databases that resides within there. And like I said before, the 3-2-1 rule allows us to make a copy of a backup from the source, write it to our repository, and then we can leverage within Veeam the ability to copy that backup that we ran once and move that into tape, into object storage, or to an alternate location, meeting the 3-2-1 best practices itself. So we enhance our backup capabilities, but we also enhance our recoveries. As I mentioned before, we're able to recover anything back to VMware infrastructure. So anything that we protect, we can recover it back into the VMware infrastructure. What we also improved is our instant recovery. We're the first ones to bring instant recovery to the market, and we enhanced that capability with Veeam 10. One of the things that we did with this capability was increase our RAM cache size to 1 gigabyte. That will allow us to store more data in that cache, and we're also able to prefetch and building the blocks in that recovery. We can prefetch from our backup file what we'll need to make that recovery a lot faster. So with that enhancement itself, you will be able to see faster times in doing instant recovery with our product. Flexible Oracle recovery. So I mentioned that we're able to do the RMAN capability, so we can move the RMAN backups to into a Veeam repository. But we also have the ability, once we take a backup of your Oracle environment, we can give you, with outside of RMAN, the ability to recover any item from within that backup file. One of the things that we added to this capability is to publish that Oracle database or SQL database from the Veeam disk itself to another Oracle server. So if you needed to take a look at some data or for analytic reasons, or you wanted to do some enhancements to your environment, this is a way to actually mount that data that we have in backup into an existing Oracle server and be able to use that database itself. So as it says there, databases are snapped. We have the ability to, if you purely virtualize environments such as SQL, we can back up that environment using quiescence without placing a guest OS agent into that VM to protect it. So with the ability to do a faster backup and a faster recovery, our enhancements to the product definitely puts a spotlight on other elements of your data that you would like to protect. And one of the first things that we addressed was the NAS data. So it's independent, which I'll go into this a little bit in the next coming slides. It's independent of the source infrastructure itself, and it's independent of NDP protocol. And it's unleashing your data along with the ability, as I mentioned before, to mounting that VM disk to your Oracle server and present that in a fashion that you can use that data. We gave that capability for anything that we protect. So we can use our API to mount your disk from any backup that we create to any other VM that you want to get this data to. For example, if you have a test VM that your test environment that you would like to test a break fix resolution, we can take a copy of last night's backup, mount the disk into that test environment, and let you do some forensics on it, that data, if you'd like to. Stealing your data and saving time. Well, we give you the ability to take advantage of object lock with S3. So that's the write once, read many capabilities into there. We also give you the ability to use our repository to, let's say you have a group of repositories and you're going to the new quantum repository. So you don't want to write to these repositories. We give you the ability to seal off that repository. So we'll keep it available for reading data off of that repository while we're not writing into that repository, allowing you to move the data off of there and move that off into another repo if you needed to. So a backup and recovery is the core of what we do. So as you see here, the backup and replication tool, and just to be clear, it is a backup, a true VM backup, and a VM replication tool. So we could do a native snapshot of your VM, move a copy of that to a targeted host, register it, publish it, have it ready to go in a failover scenario. But we also have a backup. You get both of these within our tool. No matter, for the backup piece, no matter whether or not it's sitting in cloud, virtual, or physical, we're able to protect those environments. And as I mentioned before, if those environments in particular are virtualized, we're able to protect those applications accordingly without placing a guest OS agent within there. I had mentioned how we are able to enhance our instant recovery. And like I said, we added the ability to increase our cache file, which gives us greater benefit in RAM to provide a faster instant recovery from our backup file back into your environment. So the way that works is we're going to mount your backup file. First, what we'll do is we create an NFS share through our vPower technology. We'll mount your backup file through this, and then we'll start your VM in a sandbox environment. If tested itself prior, that's through our backup process, we're able to place that into a sandbox environment so we could test the VM prior to doing actual recovery. Or we could do an instant recovery where we just could present the disk back to your ESX host, start the VM from the disk itself, allowing you to capture new writes, and then vMotion that once you resolve whatever the original issue was with the VM, allow you to vMotion that back into production, keeping you up to date. So with NAS, in particular, is the feature that is highlighted within our Veeam 10 capabilities. And like I said, this is independent of NDMP. So prior to Veeam 10, the only way we're able to protect that data, well, there's two ways. Now to protect the VM itself, if it's a Windows file server, and then we're able to protect that, and holistically, then we're able to capture the file. Or we could use NDP to tape feature where we can protect those shares and move that through the NDP protocol to tape. It wasn't able to go to disk, was going to tape. And recovering that was going back to Veeam infrastructure. So what we introduced in Veeam 10 is the ability to, no matter what the source is, if your file servers or Windows or Linux, or whether or not your your file shares or SMB presented through SMB or NFS, we're able to protect that environment. What we taken advantage of is what we call a change file tracking, CRC algorithm that will go out, walk the tree of the source, and then we'll create these fingerprints representing your folder structure within. What we'll do on a subsequent backup, once we have the first backup, we write everything into a cache repository. On a subsequent backup, what we'll do, we'll go out, we'll walk the tree. We will look for new writes that's in your folder structure, and then only back up those new items that's found in your tree. That makes the backup a lot faster. So in your tree, we see the new writes. Now we know how to back up the whole entire folder structure. we'll just go out and grab the new rights itself and take that to your storage. And if you're using a primary storage such as NetApp, we give our ability to use our APIs to the storage APIs to conduct this backup itself. So it makes it a lot faster, again, keeping away any stun. So why is this important? You want to be able to recover your data. The old ways, you had to go back to the same infrastructure. It makes it a little more inflexible of what you could do with that data once you had it captured. If the problem reside with the source infrastructure holistically, then you kind of stuck to get to that data until you're able to have a target to recover it to. With Veeam, it doesn't matter. We're able to seamlessly add this into our console to simply go out and tell it the path to the share, and then place that into a backup job. Now, like I said before, the way we're doing this is through that cache file, which will create the fingerprints that will be sitting in that cache repository that will compare each time we do a backup. So this makes it so much faster for you to do it. So the backups itself is a file-based backup. We're able to, like I said, because of our hashing capabilities, we're able to read the backups a lot faster and write that into your storage. So now we're able to use the file backups, move the data through our file proxies. So if you know our infrastructure, the Veeam infrastructure, we have the backup server, which coordinates the jobs and allocates the resources. We have the proxy service, which can be physical or virtual, to move the data from source to our target location, which is our repository. But within this infrastructure, we use a Windows-based file proxy that will coordinate the information that's sitting on the cache repository. So we will spin up workers. We'll go out to the source. Like I said, the first initial time, we will write down the folder structure into the cache repository. The subsequent backups, when the worker starts up, it will go out, walk the trees, compare the information it finds to what's already sitting in the cache repository. If it's something new, then we will send that out into your storage. As you see here, we have the ability to go to what we're calling short-term and long-term storage. Short-term, if you have a period of time where you're doing recoveries quite often, we will write that to a short-term storage, and it can be anything that we're able to write to. From there, we still have the capability using our backup copies to move a secondary copy of that data to another location. So it could be another site if you needed to keep that. If it's for archival, after it writes and keeps it on a short term, after it reaches your archival threshold, we can move that data off your short term into your long term storage. And this could be objects. So that data needs to be kept short term for 30 days, but you need to still keep that copy of that data for 90 days. This ability is where this would be met. So, like I said, you can write it into the short term. We'll keep that for 30 days. Once we realize we have different versions of that in your short-term storage, we'll give you the ability to age that or move that data once it meets its threshold parameter to move that data into object storage for an additional 90 days. The backups targets, like I said, is anything that we are able to write to. So anything they're using today, essentially we can use as a target for this infrastructure as well. So once we have it backed up, restore is real simple. We can go through our main console and select a point in time, and then we'll be able to browse files or folders that we want to recover. We also give you the ability to do the file versioning as well. So we can pick a particular date and time and give you the files or versions of those files from that point in time. But if you don't want to give your end users or your SQL DBAs in particular, or anybody else, direct access to your Veeam console, our Enterprise Manager is a URL tool that allows you to provide self-service options to your end team. And a part of that, as we're protecting your NAS data, we're able to give you the way to present that data through the Enterprise Manager. So as you see here on this screen, they will just point to the share, browse to the items on the left, the folders on the left, and then recover what particular item they'll need on the main console, on the main center screen there, back to the environment they needed to. Now, this is a great way to offload your admins from doing day-to-day recoveries, and you can give this ability that also gives you role-based access into this tool to do the recoveries or even ad hoc backups if they need to through the Enterprise Manager. So with the NAS backup in particular, you can copy, you can encrypt it, you can back up the ACLs itself with it. And it's a very powerful tool. It's a lot faster. Everyone that has tested this or used this that's in production, one of our customers, has claimed how much faster this is to back up their environments. Our cloud mobility, or our mobility in general, is done with our backup files. So we can recover your on-prem infrastructure with a couple of steps into Azure or AWS. And again, it's because of the way we format our backup files. And if you have cloud native workloads, so if you have a workload that's sitting in AWS, we have introduced this year our products that natively lives in those infrastructures. So we have that sits within the marketplace as well, what we call Veeam for AWS. It's a native EBS snapshot that we can store that data into EBS or into S3 as well. With Veeam 10, what that gives you the ability to see that data at the S3 storage. We can pull that data from there and pull that back to on-prem from our console. So the Veeam on-prem console has the ability to see those workloads in AWS and be able to capture those or reuse those backup files for on-prem purposes. But what if you just got the AWS or Azure initiative to put workloads in there and you're using Veeam on-prem? Well, no worries. Veeam 10 has the ability to recognize that workload and apply our technology on top of that. So you're able to configure those workloads and essentially monitor those workloads from your Veeam backup and replication console. So we talked about ransomware quite a bit in object storage. And the way we take advantage of getting to object storage is through our scale out backup repository configuration. That's right there, it's sober. It takes anything on the left, so it doesn't matter what our repositories may be. We can logically group those together for performance and then add object storage to our capacity tier feature for long-term archival purposes. We introduced this capability in 9.5 update 4 to move or age out the data into object storage. Veeam 10, now as we're writing local storage, we're able to make a copy of that directly into your into S3 or into Azure blob storage as we're writing locally. With the enhancement of the object lock engine, we introduced ability to call that lock through S3 today. Containers is shortly coming on the Azure piece of it. We're able to add that write once, read many, additional lock on those blocks that's sitting in S3 itself. That will be done through our GUI. We just simply set that lock, you place in that additional retention period. And during that retention period, we're able to read, but we're not able to write or make any changes to those blocks itself. And as I said before, the way that our backups makes it very flexible, very portable to recover your workloads into public cloud or into a vSphere environment or even Hyper-V. So if you have a test Hyper-V environment and you need to recover into that environment to test, we can do that as well because of our backup format. So as I highlighted before, the ability to protect your native Azure or AWS workloads, we do have a tool that's in both marketplaces that you can just natively just protect that there. It will write locally, and then you can age it out into other blob storage or into S3 for archival purposes. But with Veeam 10, we have now the ability to see those workloads and push out and configure those workloads from our central console. This makes it very flexible for you to have a hybrid cloud environment. So as we protect those workloads and we store it into S3, I'm using AWS in this example, we're able to recover that back into your environment on-prem very easily. Our Veeam 1 tool, like I said earlier, we're ability to monitor your VMware infrastructure real time. We access that information through your vCenter. And we can provide analytics such as capacity, writes, IO, anything you're looking to improve your environment or even troubleshoot an issue. We're able to drill down with our set of reports as well as monitoring capabilities to direct you in a way to either make your environment better or resolve an issue that you may have found. We do have, with our Veeam 1 tool, we will send out to your Veeam 1 tool from our central environment all of the fixes that we may have come across from our support. So once you get an alarm triggered within your environment, we're able to give you a suggested fix for said alarm. And this is done through our intelligent diagnostics remediation action itself. One additional feature that is also very beneficial is our ability to do the ransomware detection. So we do have an alarm that will read your CPU usage and IO for unusual activity. So as a malware is releasing and it's spreading, it will spike. We're able to capture those spikes and trigger your NOC to investigate and to take your actions to stop the spread of the environment or recover from that. Orchestration automation, we have the ability to orchestrate your failover of your application from one site to another site and pre-test that failover on a daily schedule basis. So this will go out, test your environment, failing over either from backup or through replication, VM replication, to your targeted site. Make sure that site it has the resources and everything is going to start up accordingly, and send you out a report on a daily basis of that performance. That's prior to failing over. What that also gives you for BCDR, it gives you a live run book or a live book of your environment based on the application of how it fails over from site A to site B. Make any changes to this configuration, the workbook itself is live. So it will update automatically with the new information or altered information that you place in there. I mentioned the data integration API, and that's the ability to mount those VM disks from anything that we back up to any VM that you need to have that information to. And like I said that before, it gives you the ability to scan that data set, give you more intelligence into that data set if you want to make any enhancements to your environment, to a particular application, or for a break-fix scenario. And with our Veeam 1 and our data labs capability, we're able to, before we recover a VM fully, give the ability to scan that data in a test sandbox environment, make sure that data is not corrupted, make sure that data there will be able to be used when we need to use that data, no matter whether or not it's from your VM data or if it's from your NAS environment. See my screen, okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So in whole, now it's independent to the source infrastructure. We can go to a Windows file system, file share if we needed to. We can also go back to a specific time or just get a particular file that we needed to recover. So it helps we avoid some of the ransomware effects. So Veeam, as you can see, has added a lot of capabilities into our Veeam 10 products. One of them is being our NAS backup, which gives you greater flexibility of how to protect that data. You speed up the time it takes to back up that data. Well, and that's millions of files across a few shares. And then we're able to recover that data a lot faster. We enhance our instant recoverability by increasing some internal mechanisms to make that recovery a lot much faster, as well as recovering more than just one VM at a time. So you could do 6 VMs back to an environment, and we can start that up instantaneously. And ransomware is very important. So following best practices for industry-wide, keeping 3 copies of data on 2 different medium, at least one being offset or offline, is the way to keep your data safe and mitigate the effects of ransomware. And with Veeam, we can aid in that process as well. So the topics I've discussed before. So again, Veeam is simple, flexible, and reliable. And so it gives you a lot of choices of how to protect your data and really leverage your backup infrastructure for your needs to make your business a lot stronger. So I want to give you a little bit of information, some nice tidbits. We still do have a community edition, so a free edition that allows you to protect an environment. As you see here, we allow you to protect 10 workloads with our community edition, and you'll be able to get instant recovery, application aware, and you're able to move that data as you need. But let's say you're new to Veeam, don't know how to deploy it. We do have an online university that's now available, and you see that URL there. You go there. It has different videos that will instruct you on how to install the product, create a backup job, or do a recovery. And this is our survey. Oops. That if you could scan this QR code, you're able to, it takes 3 minutes to answer a few questions, and then you'll automatically enter to win an Amazon Echo itself. And with that, I will open up the floor for any questions.
Gordon, hey, it's Glenn Johnson. How you doing?
How you doing, Glenn?
Related to physical servers, we have a lot of customers, a lot of legacy systems still running physical. Does Veeam need an agent to be installed to do a physical, or is it agentless?
Yeah, so for physical infrastructure, we do require our agents to protect it. We'll do an image-based backup of that physical infrastructure. We'll provide you the ability to do a bare metal recovery of that infrastructure, as well as, like I said, the mobility of recovering that into cloud if needed to as well. And as
Yeah, we're an MSP.
Windows.
We would do a P to V, you know, type of thing. And as I learned about the tool set and how it enhanced related to high availability, you know, you have the backup side of it completely handled. It's incredible what the tool is able to do. When you want to be able to do CDP, for you know, continuous every 5 minutes, I want to reduce my recovery point objective. So I'm able to set up backups where I'm looking for the incremental change every 5 minutes, for example, which we call continuous data protection.
Yeah, so we do,
okay.
on the backup side of things, we do give it the ability to schedule as often as you need the backup. So
right.
as you said, it's continuous. So we do follow change block tracking. So the first backup will be its full entirely. And then after that, it will just be the change blocks itself. So it does speed up the backup time that way. And if you're doing it continuously, we'll continuously look for new writes and then be able to move that along its life cycle.
Does it have a function that's kind of like an asynchronous replication? Is that part of the high performance tier?
So today we do not have an asynchronous capability with our replication. We can get it down to about 20 minutes or so. We do, with our next release of our version, of our product, we'll be introducing continuous data protection capabilities there. And then there, you could be able to get down to within the minutes, within 5 minutes or so of close to asynchronous.
Okay, so you got to put it down. Right now, you're down to 20 minutes. That it will, you know, it'll look at it every 20 minutes. But replication,
right,
yeah.
Replication. The backups you could do continuous as often as you need, as long as you have space to place the backup files. We're able to do that as often as you need.
Right. The main concern is not having the restore time. You know, when you have these higher availability, I'll call it tier 1 applications, where we want to be able to recover them in less than 4 hours.
Oh yeah, with less than 4 hours, we're able to. Well, let's say they're monitoring size VMs are not superly large. We can get that within 4 hours, no problem.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Any other questions from myself here? I know I ran a little long, but I apologize,
PowerPoint?
Ben. Yes, I can. I'll share it with Ben, and Ben can send it out to everyone.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, I'll share it with everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, Gordon.